Alright, so we're continuing here with the coefficient of determination. Okay, straight into our next example, very similar to the last one. This time we're just doing it reverse order. Okay, so for our example, we've got scores on a test of verbal and mathematical ability are linear related with our formula here. Okay, the first thing you're going to note is the correlation coefficient is R mathematical verbal. Okay, before we were looking at R subscript x, y, now we're not looking at x and y values, we're actually looking at mathematical and verbal. Okay, so that's the only sort of change there. And it's saying that it's got a relation of 0.275. Okay, so that correlation coefficient is 0.275. Okay, we're asked to determine the value of the coefficient of determination, write it in percentage terms and interpret. In this relationship, verbal ability is the explanatory variable. Okay, so this last bit here is really important. I think a lot of us could probably almost go ahead now and calculate the coefficient of determination, but it's writing it in percentage and interpret is going to be the main part and the makeup of the marks in this question. Okay, so let's go through. First things first is we're just going to write up the formula. Okay, main formula that we learnt the last video was r squared, uppercase r squared equals lowercase r squared. Okay, hopefully we can remember what these two are: coefficient, determination, correlation, coefficient. And we're going to go through and substitute in. Okay, so now I'm going to, first things in the question, determine the value of the coefficient of determination. Okay, the coefficient of determination, hopefully we can all remember, is capital R squared, so this one on the left. So I'm just going to write this out, equals, and my lowercase r value, like we said before, was 0.275, that correlation coefficient. So I'm going to just write this up, and it's squared. Okay, remember this value here is being squared, and that's how we figure it out. Remember, likewise in the last video we had the square root. This time we're just squaring to get our answer. Okay, once I do that, I get a value of 0.0756. Okay? Yep, we've done the first step. We've determined the value of the coefficient of determination. Okay, now it's got us to write it in percentage terms and interpret. Okay, hopefully by now we can all remember how to turn decimals into percentage and vice versa. To turn this, I just multiply it by 100. And we get 7.5%. Okay, that's my percentage. Now I've got to interpret it. Okay, I'm going to write up a little spiel down the bottom that can really highlight what it is. But we're pretty much asked, is there a relationship between them? Okay, does it make an effect on it? Does it not? I'm just going to write up my response, then we'll have a chat about it in the end. Okay, while you're copying this down, I'll write mine, and then we can all go through this once we've got it up. Okay. Okay, so what I've got here is I've just written up only 7.6% of the variation observed in the scores on the math ability test can be explained by the variation in scores obtained by the verbal test. Okay, now I'm going clearly scores on the verbal test are not good predictors of the scores on the math test, as it only explains for 7.56% of the variation. Okay, so what I've figured out here is, was this a different on the math test? Okay, did what people get on their, the verbal test, make a factor for what they got on their math test? Well, not really, because it only had a variation difference for 7.56%. Okay, this is something that we would be looking for, especially how we have linked in. We haven't just said whatever without any supporting facts. We've actually got that percentage, we've included it in. Okay, this would be a type of response we're looking for, so make sure we've copied all this down. Okay.